I guess, really 72 hours or since players have been from Washington have been committing to Alabama. A lot of Alabama fans out there for having a fight in reference to, hey man, is Washington, are we a new Pac-12 type of team with all these Pac-12 transfer portal guys? It has sparked a big debate. Joe, is Kalen Deboer already slipping and bringing some of these guys in from the portal? I don't believe that. I'm just posing the question.
I'm not buying into that bullshit. I think that this is okay. There's a couple layers to this that has to be discussed. He's bringing in the best guys that he had at Washington that were younger players that were able to enter the portal, that had the eligibility, the capability to transfer to Alabama and then eventually play in a couple of years. Yes, Parker Brailsford is 265 pounds. Is he going to eat a bunch of food in Alabama? Yes.
Portal guy that they just got correct.
Is he going to eat a shit ton of food in Tuscaloosa and get up to 300 pounds? Yeah. Is he a former, highly rated interior offensive lineman recruit? Yes, he was. That's fine. He's going to have to, with all the guys that he just lost, all the guys that he didn't recruit. We already talked about this. None of those kids were going to buy into his deal that didn't know him and that weren't recruited by him. That's why so many kids left and entered the portal. He's got to mitigate some of that damage by bringing in some of his players from Washington. And a lot of those guys are now in the same situation at Washington that are saying, I didn't sign up to play for Jed Fish. I want to go play at Bama. I want to go play with Coach Deboer. My bigger issue here, though, is by bringing in Austin Mack. I really hate this decision to bring in Austin Mack as quickly as he did. He was one of the first guys it felt like that had committed, a 6'6", massive, big quarterback recruit, scaring away Julian Sayin. I will say this, Mack is a very talented recruit. He reminds me a lot of Michael Penix, the way that he plays. And I think that he fits this offense perfectly, but he's not Julian Sayin. And Julian Sayin has a lot of really rare physical tools that made him arguably the top quarterback recruit this past cycle. Some people had him over Dylan Raiola. On3, I believe, was one of those sites. He is a very gifted quarterback recruit. And they scared him away by bringing in another young kid. I just thought that was short-sighted and dumb.
It sounds like you're saying yes, that they're becoming a Pac-12 team. You said in the beginning, no, not really, but now it feels like you've just contradicted yourself.
He's not consistently going to recruit the West and bring those kids in. It just happens to be this one period of time.
Are we sure about that?
Sayin's from San Diego.
Yeah, but that's a quarterback.
Okay.
I mean, he's brought in other kids from the West Coast that went to Seattle and went to Washington. He's bringing them into the SEC. Can I tell you the massive problem here? And it's clear and cut as day that nobody can debate and argue. The better players are leaving. The players that aren't as good are entering. You're losing to Caleb Downs, and you're trying to replace him with that. Like yeah. I get that. If you want players from your old school to come here, okay, that's fine. Hey, did Brian Kelly bring over players from Notre Dame to LSU, even though they had 39 scholarship players?
Yes.
No, he didn't.
Logan Diggs,
the punter.
Logan Diggs.
No, you can't give him Logan Diggs because Logan Diggs is from here.
All right, fair.
All right. My only point in all of that is saying that you got a 260-pound offensive lineman in this conference does not work. It's going to continue to be the big elephant in the room with Kalen Deboer. Look, you're just not going – I think Alabama fans – we've talked about this. You said it too. Alabama fans are going to have to temper themselves. Now, I know that they're getting in arguments. I know that they're fighting off Auburn fans all day because they're comparing it to the Coca-Cola version of Brian Harsin. I see it all over my Twitter feed. Joe, they might be in a little trouble. They might be in a little trouble because I get that Austin Mack is a really good player, but to their standard, and I heard you talking about this on SEC Unfiltered this morning, by the way, they're going to have to temper what's going on there, man. Like 100%, because you are losing big time battles right now. You mean to tell me that Kalen Deboer didn't try to keep Caleb Downs? And
probably tried his best.
So it'd be one thing if the kid went to Georgia. The kid went to Ohio State. You would say, if the kid went to Georgia, you would have been like, yeah, okay. Well, I mean, that's Kirby. His DB coach is going there as a co-DC. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
He's from the state.
You're losing him to Ohio State. I'm not saying they're not. Again, I think they're a 9-3 type of program right now with the talent that they have there. Okay. And I think that is a very realistic expectation for them, okay, coming up into this next year. But you're just losing too many high-quality players. The biggest thing that you mentioned, though, that is the nail in the head on all of this, you can't bring in Austin Mack and lose on a Julian Sain, because you're bringing in a kid from the portal on a visit, I might add. You're bringing him in, and what is Julian Sain supposed to do? Like, hey, man, why are you bringing a kid in here? Like, what are you doing? Okay, without doing it, they ran him off. So whatever the comparison of Mack and Sain is going to be, because they're always going to be linked. They're always internally linked with, well, if DeBoer would have made this, if he would have kept with Julian Sain, Alabama might be rolling right now. So there's so many different dynamics of this where I just don't know if DeBoer is making the right decisions here. You can't bring in some of these guys. You got to recruit differently, right? Like, look, if you're going to play in the big, you brought this up with the Pac-12. Mm-hmm. Some of the teams that play in the Pac-12, you're going to have to adapt. Like, you're going to have to adapt to the Big Ten way of football. You can't just run off in there and think that you're just going to do whatever you want to.
So you're bringing up a really good point here. And I think that this is the, part of the angle that needs to be discussed. One of our biggest concerns with Kalen Deboer coming in was talking about the recruiting. To expect him to hit the ground running in recruiting was it was very unrealistic. It was very unrealistic for that to happen, because he's just getting there. He's just setting up his big board, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, what would have helped me feel optimistic is if we started to see signs that he was building the team the right way. And I kind of get where you're coming at here now, talking about this is a Pac-12 team. You're right. He's building this team with pieces that he had at Washington. And the way that he's building this team does not align with an SEC roster.
It does.
The priority needs to be along the lines of scrimmage. It needs to be along the lines of scrimmage. We have said that a million times on this show, where you need to recruit offensive linemen and defensive linemen. Nick Saban has prioritized that. Kirby Smart has prioritized that. The best teams in college football, and specifically the SEC, have prioritized that. In the Pac-12, like last year, didn't need that. He had two very good tackles. The interior offensive linemen were inconsistent, but it was all about space and pace, spread the field, air people out. Bringing that offensive system is fine, and that will work, and you'll be productive, but it won't last very long if you don't realize that your roster has to be constructed differently. They got to get some meat, man. I know that sounds weird to say.
A massive pause.
They are getting pulled apart right now, and I know that there's not much for them to go after. I will feel more optimistic, as I've said already, if when that spring portal opens up in May, when we're talking about them, if they can pull a couple offensive linemen, a couple defensive linemen, and by the time that period in time is in recruiting, I'm just saying, I don't think there's nobody big's going to really enter the portal, but guys do. Guys still enter the portal at that period of time. They need to be in the running for anyone who enters.
Well, it won't be good enough unless they tamper.
That I'm not saying that solves all their problems. All I'm just trying to say is that your offensive line doesn't have a lot of depth right now. And it also just lost one of its best young pieces. You lost your starting center, and you also are losing your right tackle to the NFL. You got to at least stop the bleeding a little bit. At least Dion, Coach Prime, goes and just brings in as many bodies as possible. And that does not work at Alabama. But I at least got to see some intent here. I got to see some intent that we're not going to get bullied.
You know what it feels like?
What?
Lazy. It feels lazy.
Yeah, they feel like they're moving really slow.
Really?
They feel like they're moving really, really slow. And they're like just getting caught up to everything.
Because what's the difference? I mean, Joe, does he not have an offensive staff? He's got his entire offensive staff.
Yeah.
He's got the key parts of his defensive staff. What are we talking about here? Oh, he had to hire a staff. What? His staff is there. Like, by the way, people saying I need to calm down always seem angry. My pulse is 78. Just
Is that low?
I guess. I mean, it's not in the 90s or hundreds. My whole point in here, Joe, is to your point. They're getting so much worse. Now, Austin Mack can be a good. So here's the point where I want to end it with this. I'm not saying that those guys aren't good players. I think that ultimately they can play here. I think Austin Mack can play in the SEC. We've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks in the SEC. Will Rogers is still out there. I mean, if you want to make a move, okay. But my whole thing,
I will laugh my ass off if Will Rogers is who they bring in.
I wouldn't. You know why? Can I tell you why?
When have you been scared of Will Rogers?
When he was with Mike Leach.
I still wasn't scared of him.
I mean, Joe, I mean, can I be real with you? They were a 9-10 win team in the last year under Leach. Like people forget that. Go look it up. They won 9 games.
I need to see this.
By the way, rest in peace, Mike Leach. Rest in peace to the go to the air raid.
They were 8-4. They were 8-4.
No, they won a ball game. That's wrong.
Okay, so maybe they were 9-4.
Yeah, they were 9-4. They won their bowl game because Leach passed. All I'm saying is, okay, yeah, I would be in an offense like this. I think it's exactly why Will Rogers went there. But you can't just you're replacing him with Julian Saying though. I mean, I know the kid's never taken the snap, but it's different with quarterbacks. Most quarterback, you know what I've noticed?
Wait. If you go get Will Rogers, you know what that's parallel to?
What?
Graham Mertz. That's parallel to Graham Mertz.
No,
which it's fine. It's fine. It gets the job done, but it's not like
Graham Mertz.
Will Rogers is not like strides better than Will Rogers had a shit year this past year. He didn't do much.
Yeah, but look at his coach. His coach changed complete offensive game plans and philosophies.
The same progression happened with Graham Mertz, where he was really good.
1st and 10 in the beginning of the year against Arizona.
Graham Mertz was really good in his first year at Wisconsin and then got progressively worse. And the same thing happened with Will Rogers. He got progressively worse because he wasn't in the right offense. Sure, he could step in and do some good stuff, but that does not get you to where Alabama belongs being. That's why I'm saying it's a parallel move. It's, it puts a high floor at the quarterback position, which makes you look less shit when you lose 3 games this year and people aren't as mad because you're not getting blown out. But it's lame for the Alabama standards, is what I'm getting at.
Okay. All right. Okay. Want to get to some of our Big Ten projections?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, you know what? One final thought here. One small final thought.
Okay.
It is so great to see this happening in front of our eyes. Do you know how long they have reigned over the conference that my team's in, and only to see this shit play out in real time can I tell you what it is? At what I scream every time I see Alabama football make a move? I scream, it's orgy time, bitch.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about, Blake.
I feel it. I feel the shift now.
Well,
do you not feel the shift? Do you not feel the shift?
We just talked about Florida. It has the potential to end up turning into Florida. It really does. That's the crazy part about all this.
Yikes. Dude, if Alabama starts losing every week, I swear to God Almighty.
I still can't believe this season that all these Alabama fans hated me and loved you, and then you're the one who's coming out here being the most negative possible person that you could be. It's just such a the way the freaking tables turn here, man. Like
as Michael Scott would say, look how the turntables.
The turntables. Yeah, I almost said that. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.